What's up, gamers? Hi, my name is Olivia. I go by she, they pronouns, and I am a trans woman. This is not a bit. I feel like ordinarily that would not need to be said, but because of the kind of persona I have both online and in real life, people might think this is actually uncomfortably sincere. Still fairly early on in my journey in the grand scheme of things. Socially speaking, I'm out to my immediate family and some close friends. I think I want to come out to a couple more people and then release this, and this will be the final. Coming out never stops the rest of your life. I've known this was the case for a very long time, like probably 4 to 5 years at this point. That doesn't mean I came to terms with it right away. I had a lot of kind of shame and internalized transphobia. I had a pretty conservative upbringing in rural Alberta that kind of put some more negative ideas about queer people in my head. The media representation I was exposed to at a young age, there was some positive queer stuff, but the stuff about transsexuals was quite overwhelmingly negative, either portraying us as disgusting or something to be mocked and ridiculed, or even dangerous, which is part of what I think contributed to the cultural backlash we're seeing in politics. This is sort of why I'm filming this in the way I am. If the cultural circumstances were different, well, if they were really different, I wouldn't come out. I would just be, it wouldn't be a big deal in a perfect world, but the world we live in is far from perfect. But if we lived in a slightly less than perfect world, I probably would have just continued doing what I was doing and just casually presenting feminine in videos, and then maybe just at one point changing the name in my bio, changing the pronouns, something that could almost go under the radar. But because of the political situation, I feel it is important that I utilize my platform. I don't really have a platform. I make stuff, I've made stuff since I was a little kid. Far-right politicians around the world are using trans people as a scapegoat. They're using us to distract from enormous wealth inequality, climate catastrophes, pedophile rings. The sad thing is, lots of people who have otherwise good hearts fall for this kind of propaganda because they don't know trans people. They only know us through whatever weird right-wing media they're consuming that depicts us as just some strange, uncomfortable thing that can be eradicated. But we're not going anywhere. Trans and gender diverse people of various forms have existed throughout all of history. You can legislate against us, you can round us up and kill us, but we're not going anywhere. But wouldn't you prefer to make the lives of just everyone better? Just ordinary people, not target specific groups? I'm the dumbest girl alive! I do recall being about 6 years old and telling 2 separate adults in my life that I wanted to be a girl, and they both laughed it off. Why wouldn't they? They just laughed off as like a childish thing that a kid says. And maybe it was I really cognizant of this all the way back then? I'm not sure, right? If I was, I completely forgot about it and went straight into denial, but maybe that's just because of the reaction I was met with. I'm not sure. When I started puberty, I was extremely frustrated, confused, and depressed, but so are like the vast majority of people going through puberty, so it didn't stand out as anything major to me. But what I was really starting to experience was gender dysphoria. Lots of trans narratives tend to center around the dysphoria, the discomfort, the pain, and the suffering. I don't know why that seems to be the most appealing to a cis audience, and I'm sure to trans audiences as well. Certainly you need to get an understanding of what these emotions mean from somewhere, certainly, but not enough talk about euphoria and the joy. I would frequently wear women's clothing But I would also just wear all kinds of different things. I would dress up, play different characters, same as I do now. It's when I didn't have an audience and I was alone in my room, then I didn't know how to explain it to myself. I just kind of like blocked it out, suppressed it. I would do that for a while, then stop and pull back and resist and say, oh, I'm not doing that. I don't know why I was doing that. I'm not doing that anymore. And then a couple months later, same thing. I just remember the first time I moved into my own apartment. Whenever I had free time and was home alone, I was pretty much always wearing women's clothing and makeup. And I started shaving my body hair, and none of these things are necessary to be feminine or to be a woman, but it's it's when I really first started to feel like myself, even if only for a brief moment, alone in my apartment, and feeling that gender euphoria. I think that was the point of no return, when I knew I wasn't comfortable before. I started hormone replacement therapy May of last year. I got some estradiol to, introduce estrogen, some spironolactone to block testosterone. I have softer skin. I think my hair is maybe softer as well. My emotions have more depth. I'm growing breasts. And the biggest change is that I want to live now. I know that's putting it quite bluntly, but I don't really see the purpose of sugarcoating it. I was deeply miserable and depressed prior to transition. Transitioning has not solved all my problems, but it has addressed the problems I expected it to and alleviated a great deal of pain from my life. And even though life is still hard sometimes, it feels far more manageable now than it ever has. If this is an issue for you, please unsubscribe, unfollow me. Reconsider your position, because it seems like such a silly and arbitrary thing to be against. If you know me in real life, surprise! If you're not someone who I've talked to about this prior to this being posted, I apologize if this seems sort of distant or, not very personal or whatever. It's no secret that I'm an anxious person, and I'm a little socially awkward, not the greatest with that kind of thing. This is no exception. This is a big thing. This is a big deal for some reason for some people. It was for me when I first discovered it. It was completely shocking. When normal conversations feel difficult, conversations like this, so deeply personal, feel next to impossible. And that's not even considering if they don't go well. And I'm getting more used to talking about this and being honest about this, but there's still some degree of double life going on, because there's people who know and people who don't, and people who I think maybe suspect something but haven't been told explicitly. So it's weird to navigate, and this is relevant pretty much to anyone who I interact with socially in my life. And it's not a very easy thing to naturally bring up in conversation and just move on past it. So, hopefully you understand. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that when I was scared and confused, seeing other trans people being visible and open about who they are helped me a lot. So if I can help even one person for 1 millisecond, if I can be just one of many on a list of, people who made someone feel less alone, that's amazing. That's why I'm sort of being honest, is to give people hope And my life is not perfect. Recent events in my personal life have kind of served as a reminder that tomorrow is never guaranteed. And you gotta live your life. Because you never know how long you really have. And at the end of the day, I guess, regardless of how scary things may be, I'm no longer willing to sacrifice my happiness for the comfort of others. And I'm sorry if that seems, whoa, a little intense. It's just where I'm at this point. My final message: if this flag offends you, I'll help you pack. So that's the trans flag, for those who don't know.